You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Good day to you and welcome to the Sports Brothers podcast on this beautiful Monday, June 16th, spring day morning, Samuel. Sun's out.
Sun's out, guns out, baby.
Don't show your guns. That's embarrassing.
Papa Doss has guns though, or at least
he's got one.
gun.
He's got one.
Where he has
The bicep.
the pulled muscle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. So today, as I mentioned, is Monday, June 16th, and it is 10:15 a.m. And we have a lot to talk about today. Before, just want to mention that this week is your favorite golf tournament of the year.
Yeah, Travelers Championship getting underway on Thursday. Great field this year. Really looking forward to it. And, yeah.
I actually might be doing the podcast by myself on Friday, depending if you go or not.
Well,
Not sure.
Yeah.
Potentially.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. So
Then the big wedding.
Then the big wedding's on Saturday. Can't forget that. We've been...
And fortunately for us, the Spurs wrapping things up, of course, last night. So we don't have a Game 7 predicament. Game 7 was going to be the same night as the
rehearsal
wedding rehearsal. And love the family. We don't really know the other family. Love our family that's getting involved in that for the wedding, but they're not sports people. So
no. The only way was maybe if God is playing.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Anyways, so... today we have three crowned champions that we will talk about. Of course, the San Antonio Spurs, they defeated the Miami Heat last night in the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals. The Kings defeated the New York Rangers. And Martin Kaymer, the German, he won the U.S. Open by a whopping 8 strokes yesterday. And we're going to start playing Smart, Not Smart. We're going to get that game back going. And hopefully that will be a fun segment. And then we're going to talk about Pittsburgh Steelers legendary coach Chuck Noll. He passed away. And then we're going to have our pivotal Game 7 for Stump the Bro.
Well, Game 7 for now, and then Game 9 could be pivotal.
I know. Yeah, but it is pivotal because it is tied 3-3.
I could take my first lead.
You could, but I don't think you will. All right, so first off, the NBA Finals, as I mentioned, the San Antonio Spurs, they defeated the Miami Heat last night in a 104-87 victory at home. They close out the series. It's their 5th NBA championship in franchise history, and all 5 of those championships have come since 1999. And Tim Duncan, he's been there for all 5 of those championships. Sam, this series was really just all about the Spurs and how well they shot the ball.
It was. I mean, they were spectacular from the field in pretty much every game. And last night, they got off to a very slow start from the field, and they still shot 47, better than 47%. So, imagine if they had gotten off to the start they had been getting off to. They would have just been. It wouldn't even have been close at any point. 12 for 26 from beyond the arc, and they really just dominated the Heat in every asset of the game. Sharing the basketball last night, 25 assists on those 37 field goals. And their defense was fantastic. They took the Heat out of what they like to do. And by the midway mark of that third quarter, when the Spurs went on the run to extend the lead up to double digits for the first time for them in the game, you could see all the energy was just zapped out of the Heat, right? Once it got to 56-42 in favor of the Spurs, you could tell, or you were beginning to know that the Heat weren't going to come back in that game. You could just tell that San Antonio had imposed their will one more time on this Heat team, and the Heat realized there was just nothing they could do about it.
Sam, you mentioned that run in the third quarter when they went up. It started by a Patty Mills charge. He took his second charge of the game. Then he got a layup, and then he hit 3 straight threes, which only hit a 3 as well. And, I mean, really, that And after Mills' last three, they were up 20 points, 68-48.
The building was rocking.
Yeah, it was on fire, obviously, and I mean the Spurs.
And that was after both teams got off to a really slow start in the third quarter. It was 47-40 at halftime, and nobody scored for the first 3+ minutes of that half. So it was really it was so sudden the way they just took control of that
Yeah, it was
game.
bang, bang, bang.
And it was after the first two games of the series were really competitive. The Spurs ended up winning big in Game 1, but Game 2 came right down to the wire. But ever since that Game 2, of course, it was all Spurs.
And the Spurs, they shot 52.8% from the field in the final, which is an NBA record in the shot clock era since 1954-1955. They surpassed the 91 Bulls, who are now second at 52.7%. So they shot over 50% in 5 games in the NBA Finals, and that is certainly not easy to do. Here is Tim Duncan when he was asked about how his 5th NBA title feels.
Very special. It was already a special day, but to do it at home, to do it with my kids and my family and my friends here, made it so much more special.
And Sammy talks about how it's an emotional time for Duncan. He's not sure how much longer he's going to have left in his NBA career. He even said that this may be the last time he ever gets to win an NBA championship, and good for him to get this win.
Yeah, it was great for the Spurs to get the win because they just play so much like a team. They care so much about each other. I talked about it last week about how you just get the sense of team chemistry when you watch the Spurs team, and it's because Greg Popovich treats Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, the 3 stars, and Kawhi Leonard, the star now, just like everybody else on the team. They all get treated the same way, and something that I think gets overlooked is the fact that, you're already hearing about where's LeBron James going to end up next year. Carmelo Anthony, where is he going to go? These guys that are free agents, where are they going to end up? Have you ever heard anything about where's Tim Duncan going to end up? He's a free agent. Tony Parker, he's a free agent. Could he go somewhere else? Manu Ginobili? No. These guys, they took team-friendly contracts, got their money, kept that core together, and that allowed them to bring in these guys like Tiago Splitter, Kawhi Leonard when they drafted him, just these various guys that have made up this team, and really this whole 15-year run, a team that's been competitive with a chance to win the NBA championship in each and every one of those seasons.
And you mentioned Kawhi Leonard. He was named the MVP of the series. He's the youngest player to win the most valuable player of the NBA Finals since Tim Duncan back in 1999, and the youngest since Magic Johnson. And he averaged 17.8 points per game and 6.4 rebounds per game. But it was the last 3 games of the series, where he averaged 23.6 points per game. We had mentioned after the first 2 games when the series was tied 1-1, Leonard had to step up, and he certainly did in a big time way.
He did, without a doubt. Leonard, in the last 3 games of the series, was just spectacular. You look back to games 1 and 2, where a lot of people were like, okay, is he going to be the big-time player everybody says he is? He had 9 points in each of those 2 games. In Game 2, he was 3 for 9 from the field. Game 1, he was 3 for 5. Wasn't foul trouble, fouled out, in fact, in Game number 2. But ever since they went to Miami, he caught fire. 29, 20, 22 points for him. And it's the rebounding. He had 10 rebounds last night and then 14 rebounds in Game number 4. He was everywhere for this San Antonio team. And no one's going to stop LeBron James. It's just not going to happen. But
You got to slow him down.
Leonard made things difficult for him. He was right in his grill, made things uncomfortable for LeBron James, and did force him into some tough shots and some turnovers throughout the course of this series. So Kawhi Leonard, a guy known for his defense, did a good job on the defensive end, at least trying to, like you said, slow down LeBron.
Here is Leonard following the game, talking about how he learned from last year's title loss for this year.
I just feel like us having that experience and going through that loss pushed us even harder this year.
So some quick comments there by the San Diego State alum, grad, and sorry, I didn't mean to say whatever.
Former San Diego State star.
There you go, star. I don't know why I said alum. Anyways.
He could be, but
yeah, no.
he left after soccer.
I was too relaxed. I was kind of lounging in the chair. I got to get.
Let's get going.
Yeah. All right. So.
Playing defense like the Heat. Too relaxed.
So he's a San Diego State star. Of course, the last game was against UConn in the Sweet 16. But anyways, Coach Popovich, he had some nice comments following the game, saying that his defensive game, as we just mentioned, has always been there, but his offensive game really came alive in the series. Here are his thoughts.
It starts with his defense and his rebounding, and he's starting to feel his oats offensively, obviously, because I haven't called a play for him the whole playoff. I do not call his number. Everything he did is just out of the motion and out of offense, and he's learned it well.
And the last thing we want to mention about the Spurs is Patty Mills. This is a guy that was inactive for 4 games in the NBA Finals last year. He only played 13 minutes and scored 4 points. Well, he wanted that to change, and he certainly did in this Finals, where he played in all 5 games. He scored all 5 of them, and he averaged 10 points per game and only 15 minutes a game off the bench. And Sam, he scored a big 17 points in the clinching Game 5 win last night.
Well, we already talked a little bit about that sequence where he picked up the charge and hit those 3 3-pointers, and he was absolutely on fire. And that's what epitomizes the Spurs, though. You get a guy like Patty Mills who just does one thing great, really one thing great, and that's to shoot. You know, obviously he can do a lot of other things good on the floor, but they put him in a position where he's going to be successful. Same thing with Danny Green, a guy who got cut by the Spurs, played in the D-League, played overseas, comes back, improves his defense a little bit, and now they put him in a situation where he's going to be great. He's going to be a knockdown shooter. That's what the Spurs do. They find these guys to fill these roles, and they all fill the roles to a T.
And now we're going to talk about the Miami Heat, of course, who ended the year in disappointment, losing the last 3 games of the year. The series was tied at 1 apiece, but really they were just dominated the last 3 games of the series. And the big question is, Sam already mentioned a little bit, is the Big 3 era done in Miami? You know, that remains to be seen. Sam listened to Colin Cowherd's take on LeBron in his press conference, where he had a pause when asked about if he sees himself in Miami next year. You know, you can take that with a grain of salt, in my opinion, but I don't know. I honestly see him staying in Miami. I don't think he goes anywhere else. I certainly don't think he goes back to Cleveland. I don't think Carmelo stays. We'll talk about that more a little bit later in our smart, not smart segment. But I just don't see LeBron going anywhere else.
It's tough because where else is he going to go? I mean,
Chicago, New York, but yeah,
I don't know if he really wants to go to New York.
Phil Jackson.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Ultimately, though, I think he's going to stay.
I do too. I agree. And I just saw a tweet. Ray Allen, he's going to take about a couple weeks to determine if he's going to stay for another year, come back for another year, or if he's going to retire. So the former UConn Husky will ponder that. Maybe he'll play some golf at the Farmington Country Club. That's true, because he won't tip.
He does not tip.
All right, so LeBron James, here are his comments following the game about how Miami just really took over after Miami started the game up 22-6.
Started off very well as a team. You know, we had a great first quarter, but from that point on, they were the better team, and that's why they're the champions in 2014.
There's LeBron talking, obviously very disappointed. We wanted to mention that after the 22-6 run by Miami to start the game, the Spurs, they responded pretty well, Sam, with a 50-20 run of their own. 30-point margin there. I mean, the Heat, they only scored 12 points or 11 points in the second quarter, and really, Sam, just the Spurs were just unbeatable.
Yeah, the Spurs simply, the way they moved the basketball, and they picked up that defensive intensity. They made things extremely difficult. I don't know if they came in and expected Miami to just roll over, but they certainly let LeBron do a lot of stuff in that first quarter, 17 first quarter points. But once they clamped down on defense, it just snowballed onto the offensive end, and they took it from there.
All right, so your 2014 NBA champions are the San Antonio Spurs. So the NBA season has concluded. for now until next October, and we'll get back to you for the NBA, or we'll be talking about the NBA draft actually probably even next week or so. We got a lot, so keep you up on tap. Whoa, sorry about that. Stepped on my court. And so we'll talk about NBA draft in the following days, weeks, whatever. And so now we go to the ice rink, the Stanley Cup Finals, when the Los Angeles Kings, they have won the 2014 Stanley Cup after defeating the New York Rangers 3-2 in double overtime in Game 5. And this was back on Friday. Wow, Friday. That feels like a lot longer ago. But it was Alec Martinez that sent Los Angeles into a frenzy. He had the game-winning goal in Game 5 in the double overtime game, and also in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals versus the Chicago Blackhawks. And Sam, with the game-winning goal in double overtime at home, what a way to end the series.
Is there any better way to win a Stanley Cup? Or there's nothing like a walk-off to win a series. You think Damian Lillard, the three-pointer to win that series about a month back now for Portland over Houston in the first round, but to win a championship in this manner is just an absolute thrill. And this series, I mean, it could so easily still be going, right? I mean,
yeah. The first two games, Rangers had 2-goal leads in each of those first two games. 3 games go to overtime, and in overtime games, if you watch hockey, you know they can go either direction because both teams always have chances, and it gets a little hectic out there, and sometimes the bounce just goes your way. And in this series, the bounces went the way of Los Angeles. I thought these two teams were very evenly matched, and it just was Los Angeles just got those bounces when they needed them, and they take home their second cup in 3 years. We would like to give a special shout-out and congratulations to goalie Jonathan Quick of the Los Angeles Kings, as he was born and raised in Haddon, Connecticut, and went to Avon Farms High School, so some CT pride there. A great season for the Rangers, but they ended obviously in disappointment as they were trying to win their first Stanley Cup since 1994. And we mentioned that all the right bounces went for the Kings, but Rangers goalie Henrik Lundqvist, let's not knock him. He certainly had a phenomenal series. It doesn't show because it only went 5 games and the Rangers lost 4-1. But in Game 5 alone, he had 48 saves. Quick only had 28 saves. When Lundqvist when he has to stop 20 more shots on goal, I mean that's a lot tougher.
He was getting pummeled throughout the series. I think in Game 4, when the Rangers forced that Game 5, I think he saved like something like 15 shots in the third period alone, including a couple big saves in the final couple minutes. He was simply fantastic. He always has been one of the best goalies in the league, and he really did keep the Rangers in a lot of those games, kept them in a position that allowed them to have a chance to win and keep this series going.
And the Conn Smythe winner, the MVP of the NHL playoffs, was Justin Williams. He had a goal in the Game 5 clincher. Here are his thoughts following the Game 5 clinching win.
You win it for your teammates and you win it for everyone involved, but when you see your family and friends and everyone who's been cheering for you your whole life, to celebrate this with them makes it awesome.
I'll correct myself, it's the Conn Smythe trophy that goes to the most valuable player in the NHL playoffs. And now the question, Sam, the Kings, they've won their second Stanley Cup championship in the last 3 years. Are they forming a dynasty?
They could be, because they're still a young team. They got a young core. You look at their captain, Dustin Brown, a young guy. These guys have been through the battles now, and they know what it takes to win. They had their back up against the wall throughout this postseason a few different times, and in each and every instance they were able to come through, get the wins when they needed to, and this is a team that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NHL. Last year, they weren't able to repeat, but Dustin Brown was also injured. He played through a foot injury that really hampered his play, and he does so many things on the ice for them. So they're definitely the team to watch, and probably the favorites going into the start of next year's NHL season.
Here is Dustin Brown following the game after an emotional series.
Emotionally, it was right up there with the Blackhawks, who just was a shorter series. It's really hard to say. I mean, I am emotionally spent.
What a thrill it must be for Dustin Brown, of course, the captain of this Los Angeles Kings team, gets the chance to be the first to hoist the Stanley Cup trophy, and he's the first one to skate around the rink in front of the hometown fans. I mean, I'm sure that feeling never gets old.
No. We watch a lot of sports, and hockey not necessarily our favorite sport, but I think a large amount of people would say that the Stanley Cup trophy is the best trophy in sports.
It's big.
It's a great trophy. I don't think there's anything like lifting that Stanley Cup trophy. It's just going to keep getting bigger because they keep adding rows onto it as they make it. Could get to some point where you won't even be able to lift it up.
Not sure how much it weighs, but
probably pretty heavy.
Probably, but I mean, when you win, I think you can pull your adrenaline pulls it up, no problem.
And what's also great is I love the tradition of each player gets to spend a day with the trophy.
Yeah.
And you read some of the stories about people just taking it wherever.
I forget who, but someone had like cereal in it.
Yeah.
Someone recently.
Stand up or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's great with it.
So congratulations to the Los Angeles Kings on the Stanley Cup final win as they are crowned the 2014 Stanley Cup champions. And now we are moving on to our first game segment of the show, Smart or Not Smart. We're going to ask each other's questions. We're going to flip-flop who's asking the questions every other. And we're going to ask a question. We're going to say if it's smart or not smart. So I'm going to go first, Sam. Smart or not smart? The USA soccer team will defeat Ghana in their first game of the World Cup tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN.
Smart.
Really?
Yeah. They're going in with low expectations. Head coach has already said that they're not going to win the World Cup. They're in the group of death with Ghana and Portugal and Germany. And for the U.S., they know this is a must-win situation for them because they know if they lose this game, it's going to be extremely tough against Portugal and Germany to get the points that they need to advance to the next stage. So they're going to come out playing very inspired soccer, and I think they're going to get the job done tonight.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go not smart. I think Ghana has too much talent. I really do believe that not having Landon Donovan on the squad does hurt them at some point. I just think Ghana is going to be too fast for them. I think that their past success against the U.S. is going to continue tonight. I'm going to be rooting for the U.S. I hope the U.S. wins, but in reality, I do believe it's going to be Ghana that takes the first match of the World Cup.
It'll make someone we're going to see this weekend very happy about that.
That's true.
But, okay, smart or not smart? To believe former North Carolina men's basketball player Rashad McCants that he never had to go to class when he played for the Tar Heels.
I'm going to go with not smart on this. At first, when he brought up the comments saying that, when he was in North Carolina, he took paper classes in quotes, and what that meant was that players on the North Carolina men's basketball team, they would have one paper for each semester, and they would hand it to the professor, and that whatever they got on that paper would be their grade for the entire semester. They didn't have to go to class. They didn't have to take any of the test quizzes, whatever. They have to write that one paper, and whatever they got on the test would be their grade for that course, for that semester. Now, these comments have been out there for about 10 days now, and no one's backed them up. I mean, it's a tough situation to do. And again, why is McCants coming out? What's the motive for this?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, not smart. I don't see what obviously you shouldn't have, the tutors doing your papers and stuff of that nature. So if that happened, then there should be some repercussions for the North Carolina basketball program. Remember, there were the academic issues for the football team where they got in trouble and faced NCAA violations. But whether it happened or not, I think what is McCants' deal here? What's he trying to get at? He was a first-round draft pick. He won an NCAA championship. I just don't see where he's trying to go with this.
Maybe he doesn't like someone. Maybe he doesn't like Roy Williams.
Maybe it could be he got paid to do it, and he didn't wasn't smart with his money. Obviously, this is just speculating. I have no idea what Rashad McCants' financial situation could be. He could be set. He should be set for life, and he could be set for life. But maybe he was careless with his money and he needed some money, so he said something. I don't know. It's This is one of those things, though. The NCAA could be. We never know what the NCAA is doing. They could very easily have taken these comments and now they're doing some sort of search, investigation to find out if there's any merit behind the comments. So I think we hear this story. It's going to go away for a little while, and then eventually it's going to resurface. I think with some sort of NCAA findings.
Because when his comments first came out, he said it. Again, no one backed him up, and then he went outside the lines because it was a big story. Obviously, he went outside the lines, and his first few words that he said were, "Everything that I said is true." So he's still standing by those comments, but none of his former teammates or anything are backing him up on this, which is why I believe that that nothing happened to this severity.
But you could see it happening, though. I mean, with
you
those
could.
academic from the football, then
I believe every college program lets athletes slide by, without a doubt.
Division 1 through 3.
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, there's some pull in that they're athletes and whatever and all that stuff.
And there should be to a certain extent.
To an extent, not to this extent. If it is to this extent,
there are classes that you do just turn in you do a couple papers and that's your grade. There are classes like that. So
not all 5 or 6 of them are taking one.
Could be if that's how you signed up for the semester.
For the whole team, though.
Yeah, It's definitely, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But the thing that I don't get his motive. I don't either. It just came out of the clear blue sky.
All right. Third question. Jimmy Rollins will be traded to another major league team before the July 31st trade deadline.
I think it would be smart. You're nodding your head. I think you're going to go the same way. But Rollins, he's 35. He's up there in his career. The Phillies haven't done anything the last few years. They're not going to go anywhere again this year. And he's at the point in his career where he's realizing, this thing's winding down, and I want a chance to play at a winner. I want another chance at making a run at the World Series. He does have that one World Series ring in 2008 when they beat the Tampa Bay Rays in 5 games. But yeah, it makes complete sense for him to want to go somewhere, play for a team that has a chance to win the World Series, and try to play in that atmosphere at least 1 or 2 more times before time's up. Because once the time's up, it's over.
It's over. I'm going to agree with you with Smart. I'm stepping on this cord. Anyways, so Rollins, he multiple times has said that he did not want to be traded. He did not want to be traded by the Phillies. He said it in the offseason. He was saying at the beginning of the season. However, the reason why I brought up this question, Sam, was because he said that he was open to being traded all of a sudden after he became the all-time leaders hit in the Phillies organization.
I don't know that had anything to do.
I think it did. It was
why?
Because it was literally the day after it happened. He got the 2,235th hit, surpassed Mike Schmidt. I think that record meant a lot to him. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, I could see that because he's been great for the organization. He's been there for such a long time. He's been the face of that franchise for pretty much his entire career.
Rollins was a second-round draft pick in 1996 by the Phillies, and he's played all 15 major league seasons in his career there. As you said, face of the franchise. I think it meant a lot to him, and now he's like, okay, like you said, I'm 35 years old. He has his 10-5 right, so that means he can go to any team he wants. He can decline to trade to any team that he wants, and he can go to whatever team he wants. But he's hitting .249 this season for a 29-38 team that is 6 games back in the NL East, and quite frankly, I still think the Phillies are old. I feel like they're still trying to win with teams that they won 2008 because they still got Utley, they still got Ryan Howard, Cliff Lee's there.
It's Cole Hamels, who's
Cole Hamels.
not nearly been the same the last few years. It's amazing how quickly they fell off. They did get old pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quickly.
I mean, Roy Halladay
Carlos
fell
Ruiz.
apart quickly from the mound, and now he's retired. But I think if Rollins truly does want to get traded, I think the right thing for Philadelphia to do would be to trade him, just because he has given so much to that organization. If they can find the right trade.
Yeah.
If they can't find the right trade and Rollins truly does want to get moved, it would be the thing to do for Philadelphia, because Rollins has given so much to this franchise throughout his time there, from the moment he was drafted in 1996.
Now, Sam, you have our last question.
Carmelo Anthony, this one's nice and simple. Carmelo Anthony will join the Big Three in Miami next season. And you go first?
Yeah. Not smart. We mentioned earlier, I don't see a Big Four in Miami. Certainly all four of them would have to take major pay cuts for this one, as the Big Three in Miami, they already have done that when they got together 4 years ago. And just the shots alone. Shots in a game. Distributing the ball between each other, with LeBron taking Carmelo's shots and vice versa. Obviously, Carmelo, being the guy in New York, had to take multiple shots, multiple tough shots. Carmelo more of a jump shooter than I believe LeBron is, but I just don't see Carmelo going to Miami.
It's not smart. I wanted to disagree with you, but you can't. It doesn't make sense. These are guys. Dwayne Wade's not a max player anymore, but LeBron James is still a max player. Carmelo Anthony's a max player, and you could argue Chris Bosh is, if not a max player, near a max player. And I don't think it would work there. Carmelo and LeBron play the same position. They're small forwards, although LeBron can float and play all these different spots on the floor. I just don't think it would work. Who would be the five? You'd have to throw not Greg, but like Brian Anderson as your
Chris
five.
Anderson?
Chris Anderson as the five. I don't think it would be a good fit.
I don't either.
Because they already struggled rebounding the basketball with the team they have out there, and then you throw in. I don't think that mix would work.
I don't either. All right, so now we're going to go to the golf course and talk about Martin Kaymer. And first off, I want to mention that this is the Sports Brothers podcast, and you can listen to us on our YouTube page, The Sports Brothers, and off our Twitter page at Spore Brothers, and or off our website, thesportsbrothersblog.com. And I apologize for the lack of articles. I may even take down that page, as just haven't really come through with that with the busy schedule. But now we're going to move on to the U.S. Open. And Martin Kaymer, he won the 114th U.S. Open at Pinehurst Course number 2 in blowout fashion, as he took the crown by a 8-stroke margin. And it's a German second career victory. He won the 2010 PGA Championship at Whistling Straits. And Sam Kaymer, he really just dominated this tournament.
He did from the get-go. He shot 65 on day 1, 65 on day 2 to jump out to a 10-stroke lead. It was the lowest 36-hole total in U.S. Open history. And on the weekend, all he had to do was play smart. He had the huge lead going into the weekend, and he just had to make sure he didn't lose it. He shot a 2-over par on Saturday, but played really smart golf. Didn't challenge any of the holes. The lowest, just to give you an idea of how tough it was on Saturday, Adam Scott shot a 67, and that was one of the lower rounds of the day. And then on Sunday, Kaymer shot 1 under 69 on a course that was on a course that again was set up to be extremely difficult. And it's simply amazing, because you look back a couple of years when Rory McIlroy went 16 under at the U.S. Open at Progressional. That was a course that played pretty easy for everybody. U.S. Open always trying to protect par, but McIlroy shot 16 under. There were a ton of guys there. At 8 under, there were a lot of guys under par in that U.S. Open. That was an odd year with the rain and stuff that happened before the tournament, really softening up the golf course. The only other blowout that really comes close to this one where everybody else played at the course like a typical U.S. Open course right around par was in 2000 when Tiger had that 15-stroke lead at Pebble Beach. And he was the only one that was way under par and everybody else right around par. So that's the realm that Martin Kaymer entered into with his performance this week. It was simply spectacular. The way he rolled the ball, he putted just so well all week long. It seemed like every putt he looked at, he knocked down. He said, "Come and get me, guys," and no one could make a run and come and get him.
Here is Kaymer following his second career major win. Tied for second place was Eric Compton and Ricky Fowler at 1 under. And Sam, what a story for Eric Compton.
Yeah, great story for Eric Compton. Both guys will be here in Hartford. They're Cromwell this week playing in the Travelers Championship. But Compton, just his second career major, his best finish ever in a major. And this is a guy who, he's on his third heart. His first one gave out when he was 12 years old, and then he had a heart attack and had to get his heart replaced again at the age of 27. So this is a guy who's gone through so much, and to see him get to this point, and I guess you can kind of say contend, not really contend, but be at the top of the leaderboard in the U.S. Open is just great to see. It does so much for him too, because it gets him an invite to his first ever Masters next year by finishing tied for second. It brings him a huge paycheck, and it just.
It's good for him. It's good publicity.
Not even the publicity. It just does so much for his career and stuff like that. And that's what I think people miss sometimes with golf. Like last year here at the Travelers, we had a guy, Ken Duke, win his first win at the age of 44, and that's a life-changing thing for some of these people. Like everybody will pull for the favorites. Like last year, Bubba Watson was in the mix, or a guy like Phil Mickelson, or a guy like that. Everybody pulls for those guys, the established stars. But it's guys like Eric Compton or Ken Duke last year at the Travelers, where those wins, they really do change their lives, and they do mean a lot. And I think more people, I think with something like this happening with Eric Compton, I think more people are going to open up to the fact that it just is, for some of the other guys to get wins, it does mean a lot.
And next year's U.S. Open will be at Chambers Bay Golf Course in Washington. However, for the first time, the tournament will be broadcasted by ESPN and Fox. No more NBC.
Really too bad. NBC 20-year run doing the U.S. Open, and they do. They obviously they cover golf throughout the year. With Dan Hicks and Johnny Miller leading the coverage, and they do a fantastic job. But Fox outbidding them for the U.S. Open for the next however many years, and I don't like it. I think obviously
you said Joe Buck and Greg Norman.
Joe Buck and Greg Norman are going to be the ones leading the coverage, and it's one of those things where they don't cover golf all year. And then now they're going to show up for the biggest tournament, the U.S. Open, our national championship, and they're going to call the action. I like, and it was interesting. Dan Hicks did the sign off yesterday. Great job doing the sign off, and he was thanking people for the 20-year run. He did not thank anyone in the current USGA regime. He thanked the people who they worked with at the beginning. Mike Davis, the big name, from the USGA now, sets up the course. Not one thank you in there. So obviously some bitterness from NBC. Who seems like I think they got a little bit blindsided by the offer that Fox put in, and it's not. I don't think it's good for the game of golf that Fox is going to have the U.S. Open.
So that's a big time change next.
I don't like Fox coverage.
No.
Baseball, football. Football's all right, but I prefer CBS and NBC. Anyway.
No. You could rant about this all day if you could. All right, so the next major in 2014 will obviously be the British Open at Royal Liverpool Golf Club in Merseyside, England, and that will be taking place from Thursday, July 17th to Sunday, July 20th, so we'll be looking forward to that. All right, Chuck Noll, The legendary Pittsburgh Steelers head coach passed away in his Pittsburgh home this past Friday. Noll is a Hall of Fame coach who coached the Steelers for 23 seasons, and he won 193, 148, and 1 during those 23 years. Noll led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl championships during the years of 1974 and 1979, and also he had 9 AFC Central titles, including 6 straight from 74 to 79, and Chuck Noll will surely be missed.
He will. Just one of the great coaches in the game of football. A legendary figure, and you never want. You've been sick for a while, but you never want to see someone like that pass away.
Here is Chuck Noll speaking during his Hall of Fame speech in 1993.
They limited a running attack. When they tried to run the ball, there was a Joe Green in the running lane. There was a Jack Lambert hammering on him. They went back to Pastorini, and Joe Green was all over him on the back. L.C. Greenwood.
Most importantly, with Coach Noll, it wasn't about him. It was never about him. It was always about his teams. It was about the players that he coached. He really just loved teaching the game of football to younger players, and here is him talking about that.
I would be ever grateful and thankful because the path to some very good things happened because of these people.
And in the way that he loves teaching the game, kind of reminds you of Greg Popovich.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Where, last night you're looking at Popovich and
he's hugging everyone.
He's hugging everyone, but when they're doing the trophy presentation, he's just off to the back. It's all about the players. You heard Tony Parker on the post-game comments talking to Stuart Scott saying, we have a great coach in Greg Popovich, but I'm not going to talk about him because he doesn't like when we talk about him. So kind of similar to Chuck Noll in that sense.
Chuck Noll was 82 years old. So rest in peace, Coach Noll.
It's time to stump the bro.
All right, Stump the Bro time. It's the pivotal Game 7 as the match game, whatever you want to call it, series is tied at 3-3 apiece. This last Friday, Sam and I had the same question. Yeah.
It's 3-3. Let's get to the
Okay.
question.
All right, so I'm going to go first. With the College World Series starting a few days ago, I brought up a question about the College World Series. And my question to you, Sam, is which of the following Major League Baseball players have not or did not ever play in the College World Series during their college career? Your 3 choices are Troy Glaus, Mike Schmidt, or Brian McCann.
Mike Schmidt.
Wrong.
Brian McCann.
Yep. Brian McCann. So Troy Glaus, he was the third baseman / first baseman for UCLA in 1997. Mike Schmidt, Ohio third baseman, 1970. Brian McCann, trick question, he never played college ball. He was drafted out of Duluth High School in Duluth, Georgia. All right, here's my question.
I have a chance to jump back into the lead here.
Kind of redeem myself.
Major League Baseball question. Who holds the career record for RBIs? Barry Bonds, Lou Gehrig, or Hank Aaron?
Lou Gehrig.
Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron has a career RBI total of 2,297, led the major leagues in RBIs on 4 different occasions. So I think this marks the first time we were both wrong.
Yes, yes. All right, so it'll be a crucial Game 7 next Friday. This coming Friday. All right, that's going to conclude our podcast for today. Thank you for listening to the Sports Brothers podcast. As I mentioned, you can listen to us off our Twitter page or our website. And we appreciate those.
What's our Twitter page?
Our Twitter page is @SportBrothers.
What's our website?
That's so corny. The sportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com.
Well, you should just roll into it.
Well, I kind of said it on, whatever. So, hey, if you're not following our Twitter page, please give us a follow. I'm going to start tweeting some more sports stuff. I really should. Just kind of post the podcast up there. But we are a sports Twitter page as well.
And you know what time it is?
It's time for The Office.
Time to go ball
Oh,
out.
time to go ball. Oh, the office is at 11:30. It's 10:59 a.m.
Time to go ball out.
At the-
Ball is ball. So if you want to come ball with us at the Y, it'll be down the street
Okay, well,
at
this.
noon, but the podcast won't be up till later, so don't show up because we won't be there. But if you do want to come Wednesday, we will be there on Wednesday.
And Friday. Actually, I'll be there. I don't know if I'll be on Friday.
Wednesday and Friday might be up in the air this week. Actually, Wednesday was in there. Unless I go. Whatever.
All right, so that does it for today. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Be sure to tune in next Friday.